Alright guys, we are back at the shop. We're going to pick up where we left off yesterday. It just got pretty late. I was pretty tired, so I figured it was just a good time to wrap it up, go home, get some good sleep. I did bring the axles today. I didn't forget them today. They are sitting over here. Shout out to Z1 Motorsports. Let's see. Got some fresh spark plugs and brand new shiny axle all bagged up here for us. It's going to be so much better than the old clicking one. But we did wrap up the driver's side install of the dual calipers here. So there's the additional second caliper. We got a new rotor in here, buttoned everything up inside of the rotor, having to do with the emergency brake. Stainless braided line running along here, and then of course up into the trunk of the car underneath where it tees in and then runs up to the hydro master cylinder. So what I'm gonna do today, let's see, we're gonna get the axle in this side. I've got to bolt that in. We're going to fasten it to the hub assembly here and then take a measurement because there's going to be a gap now. Okay, I did a really bad job at explaining this in the video, so I'm just dubbing over it here. But basically the bracket causes the axle to stretch out, so it kind of makes it weaker. So we're just putting a spacer in to bring it all back together and make it strong, without putting too much tension on the new axle and ruining a brand new axle. And that wouldn't be good because these axles aren't cheap. So I'm going to figure that out, and then I'm going to move on to the passenger side of the car and start tearing that apart. And you guys can kind of see a step-by-step teardown of what's going on. I know it's kind of backwards. You saw me put it together before I took it apart, but oh well, deal with it. So I'm going to get started. I just wrapped up a fantastic high quality lunch of ramen noodles. Got to do what you got to do. But here we are. I've taken the wheel off so far. I don't know how well you can see. Oh yeah, you can see that. Rotor is just as bad as the other side. I can't really get my fingernail in this, but you can see, I mean, there's definitely, it's not a good contact patch. So I'm gonna get this taken apart here, and this didn't transfer as much material as the driver's side. Basically friction welded the pad to the rotor. I'm gonna start by taking this caliper off here. Of course, take the bracket off with it, swap these pads out, replace this rotor. I've got to take emergency brake pads off here, and then take the hub off itself, and then pull the axle, remove the emergency brake cable back there, and then we can start reassembling everything. Let's get started. So while I was struggling with the last bolt that holds on the hub assembly, had to put a torch on it, heat it up a bit. Unfortunately, the SD card in the GoPro decided that it was full, so I had to wrap up that job before the bolt cooled back off. Deleted some old footage that I'm not going to use, and went ahead, popped the hub off. Dust shield came off. So here's the hub assembly. One of those 4 bolts was fighting me, and I was struggling not to round it off. Here is the dust shield. So there's the bare knuckle there. Dust shield goes on first, like so, and then the hub goes on in front of that. So we've got all that off. This that you just saw me beating the studs out of and then seating these new extended ones. This is just the bracket that holds the emergency brake cable that goes here. Kind of slides in like that. So extended studs because we're putting the plate on. This bad boy here, that is upside down. So it's gonna look like this. So that's how we get our additional caliper to mount up. You get the gist. Anyway, I am going to fire up the wire wheel here, clean up all this. Well, let's say all this, but it's not much. A little bit of corrosion, just clean it up because I can, and hopefully I'll never have this apart again. So clean that up. I'm going to mount this bracket. We're going to go ahead and start reinstalling the dust shield, hub, emergency brake cable, and get everything buttoned up. And proceed on with installing both calipers, new pads, new rotor, and then resetting the lovely emergency brake pads there that I absolutely loathe entirely. But yeah, so let's get started. Well, I was making fantastic progress here, starting to get things put back together. I have the secondary caliper bracket installed, dust shields back on, I have the hub in. All the bolts are basically finger tight, so there's no play in the base of it. I was about to start installing the rest of the brakes, like the calipers, emergency brakes, stuff like that, when I realized we have a ridiculous amount of slop in this wheel bearing. As you can see, the base isn't moving at all, that's stationary, and all of this slop is in the bearing itself. I mean, it's not good. I can push it in and out as well. It's not roaring, which is the dead giveaway, but man, that is terrible. And just to double check myself, I did kind of go backwards. I hate undoing work that I've done. But as you can see, I took the rotor and the calipers back off on this side just to examine this wheel bearing. And it's definitely noticeably tighter resistance-wise when I spin it. It feels very put together. And when I try and pull it, it has zero play whatsoever. I mean, it doesn't move at all. So this one's very healthy. Good bearing should have a little bit of resistance. It shouldn't free spin. So when I push it, I mean, it's very easy to move, but it doesn't spin forever. So I'd say this bearing is definitely shot. As you can see, I mean, it doesn't free spin, but it does spin quite a bit longer. And there's pretty much no resistance, but she's done. So basically gonna call it a night here. I'm gonna have to cut this video short a little bit. I'm gonna pick back up probably next weekend when this new hub assembly comes in, but that's okay because I couldn't get completely done with this project because I need to order those spacers, the axle spacers. So I'll just add the wheel bearing to the list with those. We'll wait for those parts to come in, and I guess we'll try and chip away at this project a little bit more. Hopefully we'll be testing it in the next video. But you guys have a good night. Peace.